Alright, good day. Welcome to FaceToFace TV. Akwa Okuko and Anambra state governments. Alright, recently we've seen, the what looked like the end of the whole trial of Akwa Okuko. And he has been given a whole long time to prove himself. If he's a true native doctor, that he should miss from the police net. Okay, and finally he couldn't do that. And he was finally sentenced to 11 months imprisonment with some other conditions that he will not perform such rituals again, and some other things involving, including demolishing his shrine and all that. So, and we've seen that some of those things has happened. So, Charles, what's your opinion on this? What do you have to say?
Well, I will have to say it particularly that the government of Anambra State has trampled on his right to religion. We all have our rights to different religions that we so choose fit. So for the government to have, I was reading the judgment and I came to understand that they even put an end to people who want to make some sacrifices along the rivers or on the yes. So those things are impediments on the traditional rulers, because right now, if a pastor wants to baptize members of his church, they will go straight to the stream. Is that also? The government of Anambra State stopped pastors from baptizing members in the river. It didn't stop pastors from baptizing members in the river. But today they have stopped traditionalists from going to the river to perform their own ritual. This is a clear marginalization on traditionalists, and I do not support it.
Are you one? Are you a traditionalist?
I'm a Christian, but I support equity. There should be equal rights to these individuals. The traditionalists should have right to exercise their religion to the fullest, while the Christians exercise their own.
Even to the detriment of ordinary people.
I am not
interested.
No, I'm not supporting ritual of any form. I'm not supporting the ritual of money making, using people to, all those things. I'm not advocating for that. But whatever be it their traditional practices, which does not cause harm to anybody, except those Christians who feel like this is trying to, there's a way some Christians behave when they see traditionalists. They feel like this traditionalist is the devil himself. So, and then they try to push negative narrations about them. Apart from those ones, I do not support any form of marginalization on the traditionalists, and that is what the government of Anambra State has done to Akwa and his lives.
Mentor, what do you have to say about this issue?
Well, to the Anambra State government, kudos to this development. If Akwa was really who he professed, he was given enough time to disappear, and he couldn't. Maybe his charm was not part of his own charm, disappearing and appearing. And then the judgment that was made on him was not as bad as it could. Charles is really explaining it. He was just told, because what he was doing was not all that bad, but to an extent it was affecting the masses. Several rituals were done and several things happened. These things left some families crying. Some of these things left some families distraught, per se. And talking about the issue of the stopping people from making some rituals. See, one of the things we cannot really boycott. One of the major things we cannot really run away from in our African environment is that we normally try to utilize every opportunity for everything good for the bad. Charles was really saying that
You mean Soludo or
the Chashedi was saying that he had stopped some traditionalists from performing their normal rites. Yes, to an extent, but also know that some of these traditionalists would want to use this opportunity to do some things that were inappropriate, and I think that is the area where Soludo is coming from. Now, to Akwa Okuko, he was also told that as a result of this, because he was he was quickening or he was facilitating rich kids, which is why the governor was interested in the whole situation. I don't think that in the whole Anambra that there was a stop, an abrupt stop on all the traditionalists. It doesn't stop. He didn't say that the kings were no longer going to function, because him being an African man should understand that the kings cannot function. Then when they want to function, there are some other things.
Okay, let me come in from here. You see, I think what Governor Charles Soludo was trying to do, just like you rightly said, is to discourage, this gets rich big syndrome. Okay, and before now, when this guy's house was being demolished, we saw so many young men whose pictures were attached to this said Okite. Those probably he has prepared their Okite, but they've not been able to carry it. Okay, we saw even a pastor.
Yeah, one Pastor Ken.
Pastor Ken. He even is able to sing. You understand? So, whose Okite was prepared and all that. From the first day when this guy was arrested, I said it here, and I repeat myself. I said that this is going to liberate thousands of Nigerian youth, especially from here, from the southeast. Because we're living in a world, in a society, in a time when people don't embrace processes again. When nobody is interested to go to school, bend down, read and pass his exams, and go through a process, either through learning a skill or working and receive payment that will discipline you as a man, you save up and achieve one thing or the other. Nobody is interested. Our girls today are no more interested to see somebody whose money is dropping gradually. No, they just want to see you make it boom. And some of them will tell you, I cannot finish suffering in my father's house and I come to a man's house and suffer. Was the father not a man? Why didn't he make such money that you are looking for? Everybody is now chasing fantasies, chasing materialism and all that. So for me, I think it as a process of recovering what is diligent, there is dignity in labor. Some of these young guys who have only hope in the said Okite will now go and start hustling.
Become industrious again.
You start thinking towards it again. And there is one thing in this whole thing, because you have believed in this thing and it is working for you, you are no longer interested in any other thing.
Exactly.
Now, as Onyan Arambo again called game. Now that Bibiana is no more, as in me, his power has been rendered powerless. And that is also reminding us that government is all powerful. Okay? After God, it is government. That is why if you bring, there is something they call bad money, and put it in the coffers of the government, it will not miss. You can be a trader and somebody will buy something from you with what they call bad money, a god job, and all your money. It doesn't happen in the bank.
Except if there's a snake that will
swallow it. There is a government snake that will swallow it. Are you getting me? So, government, such institutions are so powerful.
Yeah.
So, my own happiness is that, yes, there should be a limit. I know it's not going to eradicate it anyway, because some will still start looking for other ways. Those guys whose mind have been sealed with hot iron, who are no longer interested to embrace the process. What happens to our African, traditional boy? Are you getting me?
I was telling you that.
Me personally, I don't have a problem that the governor has officially put an end to the issue of Okite and all those money rituals in Anambra State. I don't have any problem with that. My problem is that his decree is sounding somehow partial to me, because imagine if this thing happens now and then some traditionalists are offended with the way it has happened, and then tomorrow a traditional man becomes the governor and decides to legalize some of these traditional practices and marginalizing the Christians. How will it feel? There are some people who worship the river goddess, and that is their thing. That is their religion. They believe in what the river goddess can do for them. So right now they can't just tie that their white wrapper and go to the river and give the river goddess some Fantas and all those sweet things that they used to give the river goddess. Try it now, you go to yourself.
But I know that maybe within after Soludo, these practices may still resurface.
So they will be starving their gods until Soludo is done with his administration.
But this is not about, just like I said at the issue, it's not about Soludo alone, or it's not about Akwa alone. We have to try to be, how do you put it, we have to balance the whole thing. Before this statement, before this decree was made, you should have sit back and asked yourself, oh, did he just make this decree because of what happened? Now look at, just like Honorable mentioned, while his shrine was being demolished, several pictures of persons were seen. Now, can you also think out of the box and see this way that some of these pictures may not have been people in Menoki per se. Some of these pictures may have been people that may have been, how do I put it, from use of charm. Some of them must have been.
No, we don't have information about
that. But I'm just trying to say, you understand? Because they will always tell us that in Igbo Asla, only deep you understand? So we have to understand that this is not about this particular thing alone. The government is trying to bring back a particular idea. In Anambra State, per se, in those days, Anambra State is a place where this Igbo boy was predominant. But these days now, if you listen to some of these businessmen, they are on the cry out that young men are no longer interested in this whole thing. And now, yet they are getting rich every day. And you go to the streets, you see an height of mad young men. They keep getting mad. You see young ladies are being used for rituals from time to time and all that. So this is the reason the governor is saying this thing should stop. It's not as if he's trying to marginalize the entire system. But then, if it gets, I know that some way, somehow, he's going to relax it. Because like I said, you understand that we also have what we call freedom of worship in Nigeria. But not when it is at the detriment of the peace of the entire state. That's what I have to say.
Okay.
And then before you conclude, this issue has made me to ponder a bit on how Christianity even came to this part of the world. One scholar once said that the gods went on exile when Christianity came, because if you read of how Christianity came, it was about they were the first place they were given to build their churches were the shrines, the evil forests, so that the gods will strike them. Looking at what Akwa Okuko has been doing, it means that through he has one way or another making some people rich, which means that he has some powers, and there are some powers that are related to his juju that he has been doing. So what happened to those juju when they came to demolish that shrine? Nobody fell down. There was no thunder strike. There was nothing. So the whole thing, I wonder where our gods have actually gone to, if actually we even have a god in this our traditional worship. However be it, I will also appeal to the government to, if you are being good and lenient to the Christians, also extend some leniency to the traditionalists and to the Ndezewani and every other person. Curtail the issue of ritual practices, the burning rituals and all those things, but then allow them to do their thing. It's not fair.
All right, thank you so very much for your time, Charles and Mentor. We are glad to have you. Don't forget, this is FaceToFace TV.
Face to face, now they read my eyes. We talk with the young, things where they touch you.